This episode is brought to you by Maestro Sausage, the only sausage we use at Hot Tongue. They produce sausages specifically with pizzerias in mind, and you can tell. So if your sausage isn't hitting all the right notes, let Maestro lead the way. Ladies and gentlemen, people of the internet, it's your boy, Alex Koons, and I'm sitting here at Hot Tongue Pizza, and guess what we're bringing you today? What's good, Dough? Just joking. It's smart pizza marketing. Okay, joke's over. It's pie to pie, baby. And I'm talking to a world pizza champion, two-time winner, Chef Ryan from D-Town Pizza. From the D? D-Town. Matt had to turn down the gang. D-Town. You get that? No clipping? D. From the D. D-Town Pizza. This man has $100 pizza on his menu, and it is crazy. That was one of the winners from his Pizza Expo journey. It's award-winning, and the thing looks beautiful. We talk a little bit about competing, what that's done for his restaurant, D-Town. Talk about D-Town, the licensing deal that he has in Canoga Park, what that's like, how that's worked out, his long history. He's a bit of a chef. Anytime that you Google somebody's name and it says chef and then their name, you know people aren't playing around. We've talked to a couple of them. Shout out Gorilla Pies, Ben. Chef Ben. Osher, what's up, my dude? Anyways, I feel like these two would be friends or maybe sworn enemies. We caught up with him at his Brick-and-Mortar that's only been open not even a year out there in West Hollywood. It was a pizzeria prior, second generation spot. We talk about how he got in there with key money, being the only owner and how it's going. Talk about his history from the D to Hawaii to Las Vegas, where he chefed around, and how he wound up in WeHo. Ryan had worked and been head chef at Nick's on Beverly, a restaurant that's now closed. They had this Detroit-style wood fire pizza. We talk about that. This thing was like world renowned if you were in the vegan community. People could not stop talking about this thing. And he was the creator of this pizza, and he talked about wood fire pizza and how to do it. And it's not an easy thing. If you've ever done squares in a wood fire oven, you really have to have a process. We talk about par baking, going from raw to par baking. We talk about Ryan's journey, where he's been, how he's got there. Him and his girlfriend basically run the shop together. We talk about off camera, which is important. We talk about being Polish. All right. Another thing about Ryan is he's jacked. He's a jacked guy. His calves are bigger than my arms are. He's an endurance athlete, and we talk about kind of the parallels because being a business owner is an endurance sport itself. Things don't happen overnight. You have to train. You have to show up. You have to be your best, and Ryan is an example of somebody that does that. This is a great episode filled with so much nuggets of information. This episode was a stairway to heaven. It was rock and roll. There was no rain song, and we weren't wearing cashmere. Me and Ryan were two black dogs with a whole lot of love. And that is why Led Zeppelin is one of the best in the business, and they'll never be topped. Enjoy this episode. D-Town Pizza Forever, 8 Mile, M&M, Detroit, Fago, Insane Clown Posse coming at you. Let's go. MailWise Solutions takes advertising to the next level. They design, print, and direct mail, menus, flyers, and postcards for pizzerias all across the United States. I've worked with MailWise before. I tried to design my own menu, and Kevin said, hey, give me a stab at this, and holy shit. When he sent me back the menu, I was like, I thought I was okay at what I did, and his design team blew me away. There's no mailing contracts, so you're free to advertise on your own schedule. Click the link in the show notes or request a sample pack at mailwisesolutions.com. Let's get you some new customers today. Fago just reminds me of the Insane Clown Posse.
Oh, yeah, I remember those
You
guys.
fuck with those dudes?
Oh, that was so long ago. Was that like...
They're still around,
Are they
man.
still around?
Yeah, Violent
like
James
30
and something
years
like
ago
that.
or something?
Yeah.
Jeez, I mean, I'm 44 now. I feel like that was, junior high into high school.
Dude, but what was the concert they had? They're like a Juggalo fest. There's like a documentary about it. It's incredible. Family, dog.
I think I've seen it. Those guys, yeah, I guess. I mean, they're probably in the early 50s.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they're right around like M&M's. Like they were.
Yeah,
the
same kind of
era.
Yeah. Crazy.
You're from Michigan, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You like Eminem?
Yeah.
You listen to his new album?
No. No, I guess I just do. 'Cause just, the I don't know, the story, and you hear about it or whatever. But I mean, I listen to a lot of classic rock, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't listen to too much new stuff, but I mean, a lot of the stuff he does is all feels pretty catchy. You know, I always kind of think what they say from a lyricist standpoint. He's on point. He's pretty.
His flow's crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
But I mean, it's funny because Detroit has what was Motown, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Motown.
Yeah, but for some reason, every time I think of Detroit, it's Eminem, baby. It's a mile, dude. Are we talking?
Yeah.
Where in Michigan did you grow up?
Oh no, I'm more like 19 Mile.
19 Mile?
Yeah, they literally had them. I don't know what it goes down. Some of them, once you hit different cities, the mile roads change. I mean, there's still it's 8 Mile turns into something else. Or 16 Mile, I think, is one of the longest roads, if I'm correct. But every city you get to it's Big Beaver, it's something else, but it's still the same road. We're kind of that, Sterling Heights, Utica, Macomb Township, Macomb County area. But yeah, I mean, I've been away for so long. I actually been away for more than half my life now.
Yeah.
California for, I think it just flipped the switch where I've been here for 15 years. Was in Vegas for 7, spent a good amount of my 20s in Vegas, and then Hawaii previously, and then Michigan. So I did culinary school in Michigan before I left for Hawaii, and went to Vegas, and then here, and so. Yeah, try to pick up that kind of get the best lifestyle.
And you were chefing around in all those places. You went to culinary.
You
went to culinary school and then went to Maui.
Yeah. I went to culinary school. I was working in restaurants. I was super gung ho. Just love food and super gung ho about being a chef. And I was working in restaurants in Michigan and a country club. And then as I was finishing culinary school, and then I was like I gotta get away. I went to Maui, and then 9/11 kind of happened, and the island kind of shut down. But I was kind of there, and it was a little more lax. I was still a little more fired up about cooking, and I kind of went back home to kind of regroup, get my stuff, and then I went to Vegas, thinking that ultimately again I was probably only was going to be there for a year or two. I was going to pay off this little bit of debt. I can still learn about some food, and then I'll be back in Michigan. And then it's like I bought a house in Vegas, and then 7 years later, I'm like still there. Like, all right, let me go to California. It's cool. Let me go there.
Did you like Vegas?
Yeah. You felt that maybe like a little gridlocked or whatever, but there was lots of things.
Where were you cooking there?
I got a job essentially over the phone because I was like, I didn't want to move really without a job. But I started working at Postrio, and then I worked at Oriole with Charlie Palmer at Mandalay, and then I went over to Bradley Ogden's and worked there for a couple of years. And then I left to open up the Wynn Hotel and worked at a Japanese restaurant. And then I went back I was kind of trying to leave the country. I was going to go stage in Europe, and I ended up having a hard time selling my house. And so I went back to Bradley Ogden's for another year and a half, 2 years. And then I was ended up working at this other, or actually when I did some other stuff back at Caesars prior to me leaving for California, like 2009. So
you were bobbing around all kinds of casinos.
yeah, a lot of time at Caesar's Palace. Because I went to Bradley's, and then I worked at a place off strip where I did some front of the house stuff. And then that was kind of going down. So it was kind of like 2007, 8. The economy, I think, was kind of trying to shit. So
is that why it was hard to sell your house? Because it was 2008?
Yeah, well, yeah, I started, I maybe got a little greedy in 2006 and probably could have let it go for, still a profitable amount, but kind of hanging on to it. And then I still think if you look on paper, it's like one of the worst decisions ever. I probably would have made money if I'd have sold it, but I went to go look at like Zillow, like, I don't know, a couple months ago or something. I was like, I wonder what my house is worth. And I think it just sold again for even less than what I paid for it 20 years ago.
Damn.
Which is just, it's outrageous. Cause if I would have sold it 6 months after I bought it, I'd have been like, oh, that guy's genius. And then here I lost all this money, or end up having to short sell to move here. And everything was
Why
terrible.
the decision to move to Los Angeles?
I like California. Maybe it was just, I could also go to California and work. I have this lifestyle of like, working out. You're closer to the beach or just whatever. Weather's maybe a little better. And so it was to, shake things up a little bit. California was always great. And so, then, yeah, I guess, Jesus, here we are 15 years later. I'm still here.
Time flies.
Yeah.
You think you'll ever leave California?
I think about it a lot. Oh man. It's you're like, I think you have. Fuck. I don't know. It's like you're gonna have to give up something. The weather's great, and and then you're like, oh, okay, well, the taxes are terrible. I guess I still have really no frame of reference because I haven't been a business owner in another state.
I imagine it's easier than
so
here.
I certainly can imagine, and only here, but I'm only hearing like, they're like, oh, it's the taxes or the rent or the cost of living. So I'm like, yeah, but then you wake up and it's gray skies and, you can't open your door because it's sealed shut from the snow,
Yeah.
like, or just whatever, miserable winter thing you're talking about. But, yeah, I think about a lot. I think about moving to, places just it's like now I'm in this like I want a house again.
Yeah.
And like, I can't afford a house in California.
Yeah, I know.
And so it's like, okay, where can I go to set up, that kind of lifestyle again, or just have some just space for our dogs and and set up, what the next, 25 years of my life, is going to be and kind of where we want to post up. And, can I do my brand somewhere else? And so there's a lot of things that rattle in the back of my head, but, I'm kind of locked into here, at least for the next 5 years.
Is that how long this lease is?
Well, with an option if I don't, suck at it. So maybe I get 10 years out of it.
Yeah.
And maybe we can do something else with the licensed partners and, get a bunch more open. And then maybe this will be a different conversation in 3 years.
We'll check back in 3. Well, let's go through a little history here because you do have like a pretty extensive like resume, in the chef, like especially like I know that I thought you just did the Detroit style at Nick's on Beverly, which is now closed.
Yeah,
but you did the whole menu there originally.
The whole menu, yeah.
And so you had already been chefing around, and this started kind of as a pop-up D-Town.
Yeah. I actually had. The story is when I was the chef of Church Key, which is actually what was right up the street. A buddy of mine kind of approached, he's like, hey, let's kind of quote unquote do our own thing. It's, it's partners or buddies, whatever, get kind of our own, and it, it just kind of, got the wheels turning of, well, what would I do in LA with my own money? Cause I didn't want to go be the chef of another restaurant just to like work for someone else. And then all of a sudden, you're like, it's closed again, cause the attention span of people in LA is like that of a
goldfish
child.
Yeah.
They want to move on to the next shiny thing. And that was like, it was like, Detroit pizza. And so this was 2017, and then I was like, man, Detroit, I was like, it's not really out here then. I mean, in the sense, maybe some spots had tried to tinker around with it or whatever, but it definitely wasn't around. And we did these dim sum carts, this American cuisine, with dim sum carts, kind of at the church. So it's kind of something like, started messing around with there first. I make a Detroit style pizza, you send out some slices on these carts and, you can kind of have fun with it. And I was like, is anybody doing a wood-fired Detroit pizza? I'd never even seen anywhere in the country, and certainly not back, home or where I'm from. And and then so, Church closes 2018. I have this, interim gig at, Yardbird. And then I, essentially, got called on to do this plant-based vegan cuisine concept at Nick's on Beverly. And that they had this oven that is kind of grandfathered in. It really alluded itself to doing a wood-fired Detroit pan pizza or whatever you wanted, but it was this like pretty sick. It was a wood burning bread oven, and it was it had to be. I don't really measure it from the inside, but you're talking had to be 7 feet by like 14 feet. And so I was like, man, every day where you just like kind of push the fire all the way back. So it's different than these kind of round, ovens for Napolitana style or whatever. But I was like, man, because you could like, you could kind of do this wood-fired Detroit. And so that's really kind of like where I got to kind of test this wood-fired Detroit was at Nick's on Beverly. And then, but then I, still on the back burner, I had the brand for to do D-Town. I just never really, we didn't really quote unquote launch it until, we started doing pop-ups in 2020.
And when did you start? Where were you doing the pop-ups?
I did a pop-up at this spot that was on Sunset called Dough. It was another pizzeria, and I did a couple pop-ups there pre-pandemic to see how see how it went. And I was also simultaneously consulting at this Roman Italian spot that was going to open down the street. And then, so I did a couple pop-ups, was consulting with these guys, and then pandemic happened. And so, and then a month later, I had the opportunity to share some space and continue the kind of pop-up thing at another space in West Hollywood.
And at this point, you're popping up as D-Town Pizza.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I purchased a Gosney Arc XL recently, and the bake has been so consistent. The bottom heat of the oven and the actual arc just cooks the crust to a caramelized perfection. There is no other oven, in my opinion, out right now that is going to give you these same results. Whether you are in need of a new oven for your pop-up or your dad's asking you, what is the best oven to make some homemade pizzas? Use our affiliate link down in the show notes. Smash the link. It helps the podcast. And more importantly, it helps you. Do you feel like the pizza is like a medium where you can still do high-end stuff because it's a blank canvas, and so it still allows you to like express yourself artistically as a chef, but it gives you this like medium that is a little bit more easy for a consumer to understand?
Absolutely. And I feel like I almost answered that question to someone who was asking me kind of in the same way before. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great it's a great medium to where, people are going to relate to pizza, and then you can get chefy with it. You can have these other things on the menu or whatever, but it's even, I think, if you maybe even boil it down even a little, it's the craftsmanship of pizza, and it can go so many ways, like cuisine can, and there you can get very creative with it. You can still, go to the farmer's market and get great ingredients, this great pizza. People are familiar with it, and certainly at a time when, pizza seemed to be on the rise, and certainly here in LA, a lot of people seem to be doing pizza now. And then, I think, that was the silver lining, you call it, was, and the pandemic kind of like, it certainly sucked in a lot of ways, but it also was like gave us a lot of opportunity to launch the brand and really kind of get it going. And I think we really kind of grew the brand, and I also think a lot of people also did the same kind of thing, launching their brands through the pandemic and whatever it may be. I think the restaurant game just kind of changed a lot, you can pay guys, nobody was paying, who's paying 6-figure salaries, anymore? And then where are these cooks going? Because, they're still in unemployment or whatever. And it really changed the landscape of operationally, I guess.
Can you tell me what a authentic Detroit style pizza is to you?
To me, and this is even growing up in what I've had and experienced, is it's even with the Detroit, it's a pretty can be pretty broad. I think at the simplest form, it's square or rectangle pan pizza with the cheesy crispy edge called the frico, where the cheese meets the crust. I think in the simplest form, there's going to be, ours just seems to be maybe a little more chefy versus, some of the OG spots in Michigan, like, Buddies and Jets. But, I really kind of wanted to, I don't want to say replicate, but pay homage to the style I had, but kind of do it in a chefy way. And that is what we do. We use great ingredients, Wisconsin brick cheese, which, is kind of the go-to cheese for Detroit. Some people are messing with hydration levels, and does the sauce go on before, after, and what kind of oven are you using, and different cheeses and different combinations of cheese and all this and that. But I think at the very simplest form, it's square pan pizza with the frico edge.
Well, let me ask you: you have a baker's pride, because I can see it?
Yeah.
Do you par bake or do you cook from raw?
We do par bake. Now I will say we've done both, and people certainly have both. But I think operationally, as we go along, you're trying to find something that's the best product you can in the most consistent way.
Yeah.
To not only have one of these, but to have multiple locations. And I think the best practice is if you can par bake. Otherwise if you're doing it from raw, you really got to keep an eye on the temperature of the dough, because it's it's kind of this moving thing, and is it going to overproof or underproof, or is it going to deflate? What other, you're trying to take away these variables, and I think it's best to do it. And also kind of keeps it a little crispier, unless you decide to wait 30 minutes and eat it before you review someone.
Yeah, I'd argue that I would definitely argue that par baking is the way to go, unless you have time to, like, if you're doing volume and you're doing from raw. I think you hit a certain point in your oven where you bottleneck and you start sending out raw pizza.
Yeah. And we've had those situations. When I first was doing the pop-up episodes where he was working out of a range oven with some stones in there where you cook 4 pizzas in one oven. And then, and then I got a double stack peerless with, these like kind of these smaller mini decks in there, which kind of worked, and then I bought a bigger peerless, which had, 4 bigger decks, and I could cook more pizzas in there. And so as we're growing, I've kind of got bigger ovens.
Yeah.
And which has certainly only been more helpful. But when you're on a budget and you have space constraints, you do what you have to do. And I think that's where a lot of the chef experience comes into play and can be helpful. To be able to execute and do what you can with what you have.
Yeah.
Which is certainly different from 2017 conversation of I wanted a wood-fired Detroit style pizza, but well.
Well, I mean, I had Nick's a few times, and it was, I think, and coming from a pizza background, it was usually inconsistent based on, I would imagine, that oven, because some days it was cooked all the way through. Yeah. And then some days I would get a raw pizza.
Yeah. And it was only, and I don't know exactly when you came in, but yeah, I mean, we
you were working. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, right. Definitely. No, we did, we did them from raw there because of the vegan cheese. And it had seemed to work better with the cheese that we're using at the time. Now we par bake, and I have a different vegan cheese, and I have a baker's pride. And I think what we do here is even better, and even,
of course,
I think it's certainly better than what we're doing, despite, having that, if you could have that wood-fired flavor would also be great. But, even from then, we've evolved. You
use Lloyd pans?
We do, and I've used both. I had some of the OG, blue steel ones that we got them unseasoned, we got them seasoned and seasoned ourselves, and so it was and then buying Lloyd's and it seemed like this new batch of Lloyd's ones is probably the best ones that I've gotten so far, and bought all these on multiple different times, but just trying to see which ones are going to work best.
Yeah.
Consistency wise out of the gate. I don't want to have to season it. What is the Lloyd's are a more consistent pan without a doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. Best I've ever used.
Yeah.
Have you ever frozen your dough?
Yes.
Have you ever had problems with sticking from frozen?
What were you mean, like thawing a ball of dough and
no. So like you would par bake your crust, then you'd freeze it, and then you'd take it out of the freezer and go direct into the oven, and then I would have that was the only. I just actually talked to a friend who was having the same problem, and I was like, yeah, I had that problem. Like when I was freezing, I stopped freezing them, and I was like on the phone with Lloyd. Mr. Lloyd himself. No.
Right. Yeah. You know what? No, and I've only done it a few times and didn't have issues. What I did have issue with was like even after when you get them brand new, washing them and getting them lubed up, and then that first run where the cheese, the Frico's sticking like crazy, and so I tried to reach out to some other people to see if they had other issues, and and that's kind of why I moved away from using the
blue steel ones.
The blue steel ones, I mean, because we the first run at Nick's, we seasoned them ourselves, and then we bought some seasoned, and then even then they still needed to be seasoned because it was like they were really sticking, and it was misery. It was like, and then to me it was like, I don't give a fuck what you do. These things need to be cooked in a few times before they're like good to go.
Yeah.
And then we started par baking in those, and then we'd switch them into the Lloyd's, and because there are a little bit, they're not exactly the same size.
Yeah.
Which for a while did work, but again, ultimately we're setting this up so that we can, the opening process and the continuation of that is a lot more seamless.
Do you think there's a best flour for Detroit style pizza?
I mean, we use King Arthur, Sterling Lancelot. We use a high gluten flour. I would not necessarily in particular. I know some guys are using some AP flour. There's other guys that are, some are guys using the same stuff we are. I think with the Detroit, I mean, it's a very focaccia, Sicilian-like kind of dough. Some guys are doing it raw. Some guys are doing it par baked, messing with hydration, all this and that. No, not in particular. And I know that a lot of guys, some guys are, freezing after their part, and getting all crazy with it. And the dough is a very sacred part. I don't know if I'm using the right.
Yeah.
It can be a very special part, but a lot of it can get so, and brother, I don't want to say it. Sometimes I don't want to say that it doesn't matter, but I know that, this style, it can get masked a lot, and
I mean, well, you don't get to an end of a crust. Like the end of the crust is literally caramelized with cheese, so it's it's gonna be good.
Yeah. And so
That crust is gonna be very good.
You can certainly kind of cover that up. If you're doing just a straight round cheese pizza, there's not a lot of hiding. Yeah, you can hide a little more with the style to some extent.
Yeah, to me, I feel like a Detroit style that's like really, or like any square that's super dense for me is like, I like an airier slice. If your sausage needs aren't hitting all the right notes, then let Maestro lead the way. Maestro has been working closely with pizzerias for decades. They produce sausages designed specifically with pizzerias in mind. And you can tell their Italian sausage crumbles look like they were handmade in your shop, and they will taste that way as well. With over 80 years in business, family owned and operated, the family is incredible, and so is their product. It's quality sausage with quality ingredients. Click the link in the show notes. A classical masterpiece awaits you. Back to the show. Do you have like any issues with customers coming in? Because I know we have a couple squares at Hot Tongue, and it's always like they're calling it the wrong thing. Like when somebody comes in here, do you have to explain like, we only do squares, this is Detroit style pizza, or do most people like come in and know what time it is?
Oh yeah. Some people have no idea what time it is. Yeah, they're like, wait, it's deep dish, so it's like Chicago, right?
Yeah,
and it's like, no, we're a completely different city. It's
everything is deep dish.
Yeah, everything's deep. You have to educate them to, certainly to people who haven't had it and explain how you're different, and show them the picture on the wall, and some people are open to it. And I think when most people eat it, they really like it. Some people are we've had some of them are just like, wait, so it's thick. And they're just like, the minute it's not thin and it's a thick pizza, they're like, fuck you. And they walk away. And it's like, wait, but have you tried it? No. Well, why don't you try it first and then make your own assessment? Is it good or is it not? But it's like, oh, if it's thick, I couldn't possibly like it, which is just idiotic to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I imagine that must be tough, but I feel like the minute you can get it like in somebody's mouth, they're usually like, "Holy shit!"
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, that's
what the fuck is this?
I'm agreeing. Yeah. Especially for people who haven't had it, and 100%. I mean, if you get them to try it, like this guy was like, "Hey, here's this, I'll give you the pizza," and it was out the door because it was thick, didn't have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
I guess I couldn't imagine, what his bad experience was. Like how shitty was the pizza you ate that you're just like, I can't do thick pizza at all, but ever again in my life. you know.
Are you? I saw on your Instagram. Are you working on like a thin, like tavern style?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
thing
we
looked pretty.
yeah, thank you. We've been tinkering around with adding another style, you know, and messing around with just, you know, some rounds but then also this kind of tavern-y-ish
Did you cook
style.
that in a pan?
We
Like
did.
a round pan, because it looked like the edges were perfectly caramelized.
Yeah. So I wanted this, and I didn't want to just do a tavern or bar style, or I want to kind of have this hybrid of it's like tavern, but it also has that freaky edge of a Detroit.
Yeah.
And I have a few pans. I need to get more if I'm going to be serious about it, but a few of these pan, another pan by Lloyd's that works great. But to kind of have this hybrid style of tavern / Detroit, and so we've been messing around with different doughs and this and that, and it's a little funky cooking it in the pan. I know there's some people using screens and going straight on the decks, but I really wanted the cheesy edge. I really want to have this hybrid, so we're trying to tweak that the best we can.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, for training purposes too, being able to like have everything contained in a pan is pretty nice. You know.
Yeah.
Like you're maybe spinning some stuff around or moving it like with a clip, but like not having to like have somebody like fucking, you know, peeling up pies and like putting them on your brick and turning them. That's got to be nice, right?
Yeah. Yes, it can certainly be. I will say this, and again, part of it is we're still trying to figure out the best way to do it, because even with these, so thus far even these ones still need both. And I know that even some guys are doing the taverns, maybe start them in a pan, one of the shovel pans, or but then are kind of finish them on the deck, and that's what we've done. But again, I'm trying to simplify it,
Of course,
you know, but having this thing be, you know, a special kind of, you know, hybrid style or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. So you did the pop-up, things got busier. Can you take me to like what happened with like the license? Like how does licensing work? You have a licensing agreement, like almost in TO, right? Thousand Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, could you just explain kind of how that happened? And because you weren't here yet.
Yeah. It was so I have a licensed partner at the food hall out in Canoga Park, the Westfield Mall, and you know these you know, basically these companies. Earl Enterprises, which owns, you know, a bunch of corporate restaurants, and they were partnering with Westfield to open up this food hall, and they sent in a bunch of people to, you know, what do you go, quote unquote, like secret shopper, like try a bunch of spots, and you know, we kind of got ourselves to the front running, and they reached out to say, hey, we're opening a food hall, and you know, want your brand here, and if you license your brand, you know, I mean, you don't have to, you know, help us open it, but you're not really managing the day to day, but you know, it was another way to expand the brand, you know, at someone else's expense, you know, and then, you know, if all goes well, you collect a little bit of royalty income off the top, and very similar to a franchise deal.
So do you get upfront money, or like how does that work? You like they're like, we like your brand, and you're like, all right, here's the branding, and here's all the recipes, and now cut me a check, and I'll take royalties for the rest of your life. And then do you just go like this?
there's no check up front. It's you collect royalties off sales. You know, and again, for the most part, now there could be different deals. I think sometimes franchise deals where you will take the money up front. You know, it might be 10, 15, 30, 25, whatever grand up front. and then you'll collect royalties. And I think I don't know the too much the legal perspective behind it, but I think it's a little more difficult to get the franchise thing going. License deals are kind of a little bit easier to kind of get up and get the wheels turning.
But you don't have to worry about
employing
anyone.
I don't.
That's not a headache to you.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, because I didn't have this open at the time, I did send my staff over there to help open, because I knew that getting the concept off on the right foot was going to be, there was a lot of moving parts with the food hall in itself for the amount that they were trying to do. And so I had sent my staff over there. I was over there, myself, really to try to be, the best partner I could and try to get the brand launched off on the right foot. But yeah, for the most part now, I can collect royalties, and they have they put the money up front, they build it, they staff it, and yes, you give them the brand, the logo, the recipes and all that stuff, and you kind of make sure everything is executed, to the best that it can be.
And then you walk away.
You still kind of spot check and check in every once in a while.
Yeah.
But then you hope that, that you get 20 more of those.
Is this something that you would recommend to other owners to do?
Yeah, I would. It just depends. It depends on what you, what your goal is. You do give up some control and of some things, and you got to be careful. But it has its pros and its cons. But again, I think it just depends on what I have my flagship space, and I can do whatever I want, at any given moment. With the licensed partner, it's a little more difficult to kind of go in there and just say, hey, boom, we're doing this. There's a lot. It's a bigger ship to churn. We're in a speedboat over here, and they're in the Titanic.
Yeah.
So it's I kind of,
they can't turn on a dime.
Exactly. And so it's good to, I like it, like more of them.
Of course. Did you get into this space, the licensing space, before or after you had won the International Pizza Challenge?
In this space? No, we got into this space after we'd actually
the licensing spot in Canoga Park.
Yes, after we got into it, we had actually won twice.
Yeah, okay.
We'd won once. The deal was signed, and then we won again prior to opening.
Did you win first place 2 times in a row?
No, we whiffed the second year. No, it was 2021. We won, and then I couldn't compete the second year in the same division. So one of my other guys competed, and the next year we didn't win, and then I had him compete again, and we did win. So 21 and 23.
And what did those? First of all, was that something you always wanted to do? Did you always want to compete in the Had you been to the Pizza Expo?
No,
prior?
That was my first time. I had no idea what the Pizza Expo was all about. So I was just going to check out what the expo was about. I was like, I'm in the pizza business. I should probably check this thing out. And also, well, I'm a competitive motherfucker.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, let's go compete. Let's kind of throw it out there. And so and then we were lucky enough to win, and we also thought we had a good pizza the second year too, and then you just the stars didn't align that year, but then then it was to win again. I think we found out when we were like at dinner, and so it was pretty exciting again.
That's pretty dope. What did you win the first time, and then what was the second pizza?
The first year was our Resolution Pizza, our Japanese A5 Wagyu and truffle pizza. So we make kind of like a A5 Carpaccio. So we bake a cheese pizza. It's got Parmesan, A5 Carpaccio, our house-made black truffle oil, pickled onions, scallions, and a little Malden salt. You know, we sell it for $100 because it's LA and it's gimmicky. But I mean,
we could pause on that right now. I mean, like this dude's got $100 pizza on his menu, dude. I mean, most pizzas are like $22-$25, but then you have this award-winning pizza that's you could get any day here for $100. I just think
I mean, it's like people are like, oh, well, it's outrageous price. Well, where else in the city? What steakhouse can you go to and get 4 ounces of A5 Wagyu? What's that going to cost you? And a pizza on top of it? Like,
great deal.
It's just it's a deal, right? Somebody just posted this other spot. I just got trumped. This other spot's got artichoke and uni pizza for $140.
Come on.
And I just competed in 24 again to try and I put uni on my pizza. And we didn't win, this year. So, and but I don't feel bad about putting uni on pizza because I think it's delicious. We had the whole thing. We made an uni foam and had some uni and pickled shallots and all this stuff. So we thought that was pretty tasty. But you win some and you lose some too. So
you won with this pizza that's on your menu permanently the first time, and then what was the second time you won? And you won two. You won twice. Two number ones.
Twice. Two number ones.
All right.
Yes.
I'm looking at these shiny. I got to put sunglasses on to stare directly at them, but I'm looking at his trophies right now.
And then the second time we won was our oxtail mole and bone marrow pizza.
I think I remember. I was competing that year. I think I remember seeing that pie.
And it was, thank you. Yeah, it was. It was kind of a little tribute to the beef chicken bone marrow pie that that Nancy Silverman does at Keys Baca. One of my favorite restaurants. And I was like, how can we do this? And so it was. We want to do this bone marrow pizza with oxtail mole, pickle onions, queso fresco, cilantro. But it was, I had to make something for my employee, the guy I had competing, convey that he knew what he was making. And so he made his grandma's mole and, so then he executed the pizza. And then it turned out to be a blind tasting. So you didn't have to talk about what you made. So it was just, it was one of those, the second year you had to publicly speak about what you're making. So, us to be congruent, about what we were making. So yeah, it was an oxtail mole and bone marrow pizza.
You don't offer that on the menu.
We don't currently. We did for probably a few weeks. And we'll probably bring it back in. Maybe as it gets a little colder out, we'll bring it in. But I think it was fun.
Yeah.
It was tasty.
You just mentioned Nancy Silverton. That reminded me. Did you work for Wolfgang Puck?
I did. I did some catering with Wolfgang.
Yeah?
Yeah. Actually did some catering with Wolfgang and did a little bit of consulting for his worldwide brand with some pizza spots in North Carolina and Oklahoma but yeah, mostly catering, the Oscars and all that stuff. And so,
I mean, that dude's a legend of putting crazy shit on a pizza.
Oh,
to me, that's like California. It's just getting the weirdest fucking
for
shit.
Sure. And that was if, the what's his most famous one, the smoked salmon and caviar pizza. I mean, that really stemmed from us debating on like, how I could possibly either do a brunch type pizza, but then also was like, wait, what carpaccio would be great on a pizza? And it was like, well, shit, let's throw some Wagyu on it. It's LA, let's charge $100 for it. And so in this odd kind of way, that's kind of where the wheels start churning of what you're gonna throw on a pizza. You think about Wolfgang smoked salmon pizza, and all of a sudden it's beef carpaccio and truffles.
Sky's the limit.
And then the next year we did a smoked tuna ham and caviar and Meyer lemon and and I don't think people understood.
Yeah, sometimes those pies can go over the head.
Yeah, over the head, and then I competed with the uni one, and you felt like maybe that one over the head too, and we didn't make it to the second round, and then I competed in the uni oven pan division and got second place by 13 100ths of a point.
But did iDrift beat you?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I was beat by an influencer.
Oh my God.
Shout out iDrift, dude. What's good, dog?
Yeah, he got
knows.
me. I was like, who's this guy? I was like, I knew him, and I did his pie, but I was like, what happened? So it's like,
Uni does sponsor his pod, so it might be a little weird relationship.
Yeah,
I don't know if you should have
now
been.
it is,
I don't know if you should have been able to compete. But
yeah.
politics.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, what did those accolades? Did winning those awards that first time kind of help push things in the right direction? Did LA give a shit? I
don't think LA gives a shit.
Yeah.
And that's it's like, and I think it's like, it's just LA. And if I was on fucking TV or some shit, it's like all of a sudden they would care. But no, I'm not saying that it didn't or hasn't. I don't know that it's hurt us, but I don't know that all of a sudden we're like, oh wait, they won once or they won twice, and all of a sudden it was like a line out the door. It wasn't like that. And I know that the other guys who some other spots that competed that have gotten second and third and pretty consistently in a smaller city, they've got a line out the door because of the accolades. And you're just like, man, what is going on? Is it literally because I'm in LA and it's not? Is it not shiny enough to get a bunch of people coming in? So
well, I'm looking at this Los Angeles Times article. Did that push a lot of business?
Yeah, I think it's or at least historically speaking, what I've noticed is anytime you're in kind of a write-up from either A or B, yes, the LA Times, which I think came out around the August of 22, and Infatuation threw us some love early on, and I think in 2020, 2021, did some articles in August. And then anytime we've been on KTLA, we've gotten these burps in business, which definitely help. But again, they're little burps. They're good for a week or a few days, and then you're kind of back to this roller coaster of being a small business owner and figuring out,
because you've also been visited by some pretty large influencers, like How Kev Eats is one of the biggest in LA. Did those burps, were those belches? Did those last longer?
Kev was definitely more than a burp. It was
He threw
like
up?
one. It was like one of the Simpsons characters just belching for you see that? It was his was like one of the ones that truly helped. Doubled our business overnight, certainly for a couple weeks, and definitely kind of put us up on a new plateau in terms of business. At least a year ago, it did. But yeah, that definitely helps. But as we're in a new location, you're cleaning the slate again, and you're back to you're not square one, but you're starting over again, more or less.
Well,
to some extent,
of course. I mean, like the way you're running out of somebody else's restaurant, popping up, it's a different vibe than just now it's very obtainable. It's easy to come in. You know, it's not as exclusive maybe.
Yeah.
But we were talking off camera when I got here. This used to be another pizza restaurant.
Yes.
And so how long were you looking? I mean, to me, this is, if I go look for another pizzeria, multiple pizzerias, this is all the space I'd really want. You got a big kitchen, me personally.
Sure.
So it's fairly big kitchen, not a lot of dine-in space. There's some outdoor area.
Yeah.
How long were you looking for a spot? Perfect second generation restaurant. How long were you looking? And then like key money wise, like how did this happen?
Yeah. I mean, I've been looking, I would say,
always in this area too, West Hollywood?
well, I was looking all over, but about 6 months, you know, knowing that I needed to get my own space really eventually. But then yet ultimately I ended up taking about 6 months 'cause the other stuff I kind of exercised and figuring out, you know, financial situation and all that. You know, this was one of those, I looked at enough and then got into this, second gen space that was really, it was kind of one of those like, all right, I need to, you know, if I don't act on this, you know, I've got other issues, but I needed, this was one of those like, I got to get this space. And I think I reached out to the broker. I think the first day it went up or whatever. And I was actually kind of already dealing with that guy, but, you know, in noticing what we did with it and putting myself through the ringer here of getting it to the goal line, you know, I would definitely look for more spaces along these lines, you know, to kind of do what we did, kind of know how quickly you can turn the space around and pivot and get open. So I'm proud of what we did.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great. I mean, you show them before and after pictures. I mean,
Thank you.
Thank you. It's the brand's there. It looks good. It's clean. The bathroom photos of your dog taking a shit on the beach are incredible.
It's amazing. Thank you.
You've done Ironman, you've done triathlons, like endurance sports. Do you think that kind of competitive nature or like those kind of like physical activities translate into helping you like with a business sense of mind or like being in the kitchen? Like, is there any parallels there?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's you know, I will say we're definitely, it's definitely in the marathon, the Ironman, you're in it for the long haul, and you're definitely in it where you go through. In any long endurance race, it's a mix of emotions and up and down and feeling like, but you know, you know that once you do it, you know, you're like, and that you can do it, and you build some real confidence and just knowing that like, you know, one more step, 1 foot forward, just you keep on moving, you keep plowing through and knowing that you're going to get to the end. And I guess knowing that really that it's not the end, you're just going. It definitely helps you, you know, embrace the suck.
Embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And you earn for those days that you're like, I want to be out on my bike or be out on a long run. And then you're out on that long run and you're thinking about the restaurant.
Yeah.
So I think you need both. I think you really
life.
need to get away to, I would call it decompress, but ultimately really all you're thinking about is, you know, taking a step back from the restaurant to feel, okay, what can we do different or better, or, you know, what do we got to do? But yeah, I absolutely think that, you know, it's that mental fitness as well as, you know, physical fitness, just keeping you in the game, keeping you going. I recommend it to everybody, regardless of if you're in a restaurant or not, that you need some form of just getting out there and moving.
Of course. Is it hard to find time to do that kind of stuff, or do you have it chiseled out pretty well? to keep your mental health?
Yeah. I mean, you just, it gets back to like, there's X amount of hours in the day and how bad do you want it? I mean, you gotta, we're closed on Wednesdays. So that way it's kind of dedicated towards, it's date night with my girl too, but we're also working out too. We're getting it in and then we're going to hang out but then the days that we're, some days I have more time to spend and you try to carve out, in theory, a projected schedule for yourself. And I think you have to allow that self for allow your self that time.
Yeah. You have like a separate vegetarian kind of vegan menu options. Is that why?
Yes.
Why is a lot of pizzerias don't have that? Like why is that important?
Well, a couple of reasons. I think you have to certainly cater to a big group of people, which there's a lot of people are dairy free or vegan or my better half, she's the manager and she's vegan as well. So there's we want to be able to have gluten-free and vegan options and offer a variety so we're not just. We didn't want to limit ourselves too much, and it doesn't take much more work at all. You're bringing in one more product to kind of open up the window for a lot more.
Of course, yes. Just some owners just kind of like write it off. I mean, obviously in West Hollywood and Los Angeles in general, I'd say you'd be selling yourself short if you didn't have a vegan and a gluten-free.
For sure,
offering on your menu.
Yeah, you definitely have to. I think certainly out here, yes, I agree that you definitely have to offer a variety.
Do you eat a lot of vegan meals because your partner is vegan?
We do. I try to eat somewhat health conscious as well.
Yeah.
Certainly a little bit lately. Better than I have too. But yeah, I mean, I think if you get into, a lot of Thai food, Indian food, some of those things are already kind of alluded themselves to be very, vegan friendly and also trying to find places that will, accommodate both, meat eaters and vegetarian, and find places like that in LA are it's also tricky to find places that are, certainly if you're going to go to, a nicer, higher end restaurant, to find places that accommodate, that will accommodate the chef, meat eater, and the vegetarian, to not frown upon them and say, well, we're just going to give them some BS veg plate or something.
Yeah, here's some broccolini.
Or just not do it and be that asshole.
Yeah. Have you had Pura Vida?
Yeah, we have. I think they're just on the street.
Yeah, they are.
We've had some Pure Vita. We've been to, we get there, Crossroads, our friends over at Yangbon, they do a incredible job of accommodating for vegans and my lady to offer, and it's like, as chefs should. If you have it and you can do it, I feel that you should,
As far as like DSP here, like around this area, West Hollywood, is D-Town pretty much the only one?
I certainly think in West Hollywood, we are.
Because there's not a lot of like only Detroit style pizza places. I mean,
definitely not. I mean, there's a lot of places.
Like Apollonia's does one, and
right. Where it's like, well, they also do that, right? They also have their the New York styles, and then they do the squares as well. But yeah, even that's kind of mid city. I mean, not really, definitely not West Hollywood, and not that I'm aware of, and I think a lot of places that do offer are initially starting with something else, and they're also offering Detroit. So we may get to the point where we're primarily Detroit style, which the brand will always be, but then we may also offer
something else,
something else that's, fun and tasty.
Yeah.
But the chef part of me is got to make it, make sure it's, we're happy with it.
How many people do you have on staff here?
We have 6 people on staff.
And why close on Wednesdays?
Historically it was like kind of either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
It was like either kind of a slower day. I didn't want to do Monday because, you'd have football, but it was flip a coin. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday, but having that as an owner, and this may change, but as an owner to have that one day close where you didn't kind of have to think about
you can just shut
the restaurant, you
everything
could
off.
just shut everything off and take that, 15% notch off the mental load. And then, cause my girl, we work together and
is that tough at all? You guys like take work home, we'll talk about it all the time.
Yeah. We do a little bit, and it has its challenges, but at the end of the day, and I have some other chef friends, owner friends that, husband, wife, whatever, partners at the restaurant. And it's like, it can be challenging, but I don't trust anyone else more than her.
Yeah.
And so, the times that I've had to leave for whatever it may be, if I'm going to take part of the night off or if I've got to run out to get something, I'm not really worried about what's going on at the restaurant because I know that she can do it. If it's an employee, it's always in the back of your mind of like, are things right?
Yeah.
It's certainly this, even this early on in the game, we're just like, okay, you just don't trust them as much.
Yeah.
No matter how good they are.
Yeah.
It's still in the back of your head, because it's just a job to them. And whether they embrace the brand or not, it's not the same playing field.
Yeah.
As an owner, when you're signing away the checks, out of your own bank account.
Yeah. What has been one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn in your years of pizza or just cooking that maybe you could share that's helped you or didn't help you and just like absolutely sucked?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I know that I've you got to look out for yourself. Nobody's paying your retirement plan.
Yeah.
You've really, I probably would have did this sooner if I was, smarter or whatever.
Yeah.
I would have, it's respecting yourself a lot more. This is probably going to go pretty deep.
Good.
Respecting yourself a lot more to have the confidence to take a chance on yourself. That's what you need to do for yourself. I don't even know if that even made sense, but it's when you're working for someone else and it's not the same, and then you get to your point where I own my own shit. That's just different. And like I said, I probably would have done it sooner had I don't want to say had I known it was going to be, and it's not easy by any means, but had just that more oomph of you don't know what you don't know, but just taking the risk,
Yeah.
taking the chance on yourself, taking the whatever. I would have, I mean, 11 years ago, there was a pizza oven at the church key that we took out of there to do all the chefy stuff. I mean, imagine if I would have been at this for 11 years already. Let's do some side hustles out of the back door at the, like before this shit was even a thing.
Yeah.
To think like, man, that was already here. Like, I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if that answers
Yeah.
it. You know,
Yeah. I mean, like you said a lot there. So, I mean, believing in yourself and confidence is a huge thing. I think definitely like as an entrepreneur, even like when you take that jump, it's easy, like self-doubt creeps in and shit gets fucked.
And that like the risk of failure, you know, and trying to, I mean, it's taking every ounce of your soul, you know, to like stay in the game and keep moving forward and believing that, you know, things will work out. And it's a roller coaster of not just being a small business owner in California and wherever, but I mean, it's, you're going to move somewhere else and you got to start back. You're back to ground zero, you know, or whatever. And knowing that you have to, you're doing everything, you know, with, you don't know what you don't know, but you have to know, you do have to know everything about your business. Yeah. You know, and
you have to figure it out. And sometimes that can be real hard and come with a lot of shit.
Yeah. A lot of moving parts and a lot of, even in a small pizza operation. Yeah. You know, so.
All right. Here's the final question.
All right.
Who is the greatest recording artist or band of all time to you?
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, dude, nice. I love it when it's that easy and people are like, "Oh, there's so many." That's a great answer. I mean, come on, Zeppelin.
Yeah, so good, Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
dude. Cool. Well, thank you for letting me come here this morning.
Awesome, super fun.
This was rad, dude.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, man.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much.